What's going on, everybody? I'm here today at Animal Headquarters Gym, and we're gonna do some back training. So for the first part of the workout, okay, it's gonna consist of giant sets, 3 exercises: barbell rows, deadlifts, dumbbell rows. I would consider those 3 movements to be pretty much the bread and butter movements of back training, not only for thickness, but also for width. All 3 of those are compound movements. They're difficult. When you're dieting, right, and people oftentimes overlook this concept, you need to do movements that are gonna burn a lot of calories. Barbell rows and deadlifts, and even dumbbell rows, definitely tick those boxes. I'm gonna go extremely light. All right, this is gonna look ridiculous, but I'm telling you, a lot of you guys watching, I know you have difficulties with deadlifts, meaning not that you have a problem doing them. And some of you guys, you might be really, really strong when it comes to deadlifts, okay? I've seen guys who can move an incredible amount of weight with the deadlift, but at the same time have very poor back development. When you change the tempo of the exercise, you change the exercises that you're doing the deadlift with, it can change everything, meaning you slow down the negative, and also once you start bringing other movements into play, you start recruiting fibers that you're not used to using, especially guys who train really, really heavy, and they do so in a 4 to 6 rep range, or even an 8 to 12 rep range, okay, but they're using their lower body, their hamstrings, their glutes for a lot of the movement, and they're just muscling through it. Probably not gonna see optimal back development. So pardon the lightweight, but if you could believe it, I'm gonna make my back scream with a very, very minimal amount of weight. It's crazy. The pump and the pain and the muscle, all the places you want it. Okay, especially a lot of you guys watching this. I know you got lower back issues, hip problems, lightening the weight, but doing it in a way that still allows you to thoroughly tax the muscle. This could be right up your alley. Whoa. There's a lot of people that I talk to who will tell me, oh, well, I don't deadlift because it hurts my back. Or I don't barbell row because it hurts my back. The reality is, you're probably using weight that's too heavy for you, and you're using weight it's not gonna adequately allow you to recruit the muscles that you're trying to recruit, okay? And you're using all sorts of things that you don't wanna be using. Lighten the weight. Look, if I could use a plate to barbell row and deadlift, you could lighten the weight too. So even though the weight is very, very light, okay? One plate. Can I barbell row 3 plates? Sure. Do deadlifts with 4 plates? Absolutely. I'm telling you though, when you slow down the movement a little bit, use less lower body, use less momentum, start letting your back out at the bottom of the movement on the row, and bring the row up into a higher rep range, 20 plus, and then immediately bring it into the deadlift. And the key, okay, is going really slow on the negative with the deadlift and feeling it all in your back, okay? And as it's coming down, you're feeling your back stretch. You're letting everything release. And as you're coming up, you're rolling your shoulders back and contracting your back. Very, very different than loading the bar up with 4 or 5, 6 plates and muscling it out. And I'm not saying that's not good, but I'm saying you can't do that indefinitely. I know that everyone's schedule is different. A lot of mornings I'm up at 4 a.m., I'm training by 5 a.m. Not gonna go putting 4 or 5 plates on the bar at that time, all right? You just woke up, a little bit dehydrated. It's probably not the smartest thing to do. Beyond that, again, there's guys that can deadlift a ton of weight. Doesn't mean you're gonna have great back development. A lot of times it's slowing it down, feeling the muscles that you're actually supposed to be working. And one of the best ways to do it is to do it as part of giant sets, because you're gonna feel things that you're not used to feeling. I could tell you right now, the feeling in my traps and my rhomboids, huh. If you were here, I wish I could walk you through this, because then you can know what I was talking about. And don't get me wrong, I'm always gonna be a fan of and an advocate for heavy weight, all right? Grip it and rip it. That was my style pretty much throughout my whole career, and still is. I can't do that every week, all right? You do that week in and week out, heaviest weight possible, for as many reps as possible, and eventually stuff starts to break down. You've got to change up your training. You lighten the weight for a workout here or there. You're not gonna shrink. If anything, you're gonna get better for it, because you're gonna increase that mind-muscle connection, learn how to better recruit the muscles that you're actually trying to build. All right, when you're deadlifting, when you're barbell rowing, you're not trying to build your, your lower back. Well, you are trying to build your lower back, but muscularly, all right? You're not trying to abuse your spine. So take the time to, do the things that you wouldn't really want to do. So I'm gonna tell you right now, this workout sucks, all right? Doing barbell rows, deadlifts, and dumbbell rows back to back to back sucks. It's not fun. But things like this, aside from hitting fibers in a way that you're not accustomed to, will also help to improve your conditioning. All right, there's a lot of guys that if I said, okay, we're gonna do barbell rows, deadlifts, and dumbbell rows back to back, they'd look at me like I've got 10 heads, because they're not used to doing that. Try it, trust me. I started getting to the point where I can only get 3 or 4 reps on the dumbbell rows that, when fresh, I can get 18 to 20 reps. I know that my back's getting fatigued. Another point that I would try to impress upon you guys is the idea that when you're trying to get in shape, you want to rely mainly on your training, all right, to burn fat and calories. When you look back at bodybuilders of the past, throughout some of the greatest eras that the sport's ever seen, these guys didn't do a lot of cardio. And I think they relied more on their training. And when you looked at the way they trained, shorter rest between sets, they weren't overly obsessed with the weight that they were using. Don't get me wrong, they were still strong guys. They still used a significant amount of weight, but they weren't doing hours of cardio. And I'm not against cardio. I think cardio is important. I do it myself when I'm trying to get in shape. I think it's extremely valuable. But if you can train hard and do a lot of compound movements, you have to think about this. If you're sitting down on a machine, all right, well, right off the bat, you're sitting. Okay, so you're burning less calories. The minute you stand, you're automatically burning more calories. You're using more muscles. Using free weights just requires just the use of more muscle. Right? You will burn more calories, and if you're incorporating adequate amounts of intensity, you're gonna then put yourself in a position to achieve the best possible condition. Right? So keep those compound movements. Be sure to alternate between training heavy, but also training in a way that's smart and in a way that's also effective. It's been 3 rounds. We'll do 1 more round. I'm toast. It's crazy how fast this will beat you up. And you do have to distinguish between just getting a pump or just simply tiring out the muscle. But I could tell you, I've had those workouts where you just get a great pump, get some fatigue, but the next day you don't feel anything. When I train this way, the next day I am sore, deeply sore. Okay, so that tells me I did do something real, something viable. If you look down at the floor, right, you'll notice that's a 100-pound plate. So it's fairly thick. I've never been a big fan of rack pulls, all right, but there's times when going to the floor is going to incorporate more glute and hamstring that I'm interested in using, but doing a rack pull is just not, I've just never felt comfortable doing rack pulls. And I do want some lower body involvement, and doing a little bit greater of a range of motion always felt more natural to me. So I've never been a fan of rack pulls, but putting a plate on the floor to reduce the range of motion just a little bit when I'm trying to really nail, my rhomboids and my traps, that middle, the meat on my back, has proven very effective for me. So again, just a little something, not saying you should do it or that you shouldn't do it, just something that I like to do. It may only be 30 minutes, but it's 30 really crappy minutes. I'm gonna finish it off with some dumbbell pullovers, but that's the easy part of the workout. All right, the hardest part of the session is over. I'm gonna finish off though with some lat work, right? Specifically, some more isolated lat work. Dumbbell pullovers. Now, dumbbell pullovers are a movement that, again, people shy away from them, not because they're so strenuous, right? They're not deadlifts, they're not barbell rows, they're not even dumbbell rows. But oftentimes there'll be some type of machine or cable, some type of apparatus that people will employ to recruit the lats, and they will use it in lieu of a pullover. But speaking as somebody who has very, very minimal equipment, right? I train in my basement the vast majority of the time. I don't have cables, I don't have a lat pullover, I don't have any lat specific machines. I will utilize a dumbbell pullover. And one of the things that it's forced me to do is to get really good at dumbbell pullovers. And admittedly, those are not always my strongest movement, meaning I would do them, but I wasn't always like, oh wow, my lats. To be totally honest, a lot of times I'd pick up a 100-pounder, 120-pound dumbbell and try to crank out as many reps as I could. And maybe I'd feel it in my lats a little bit, maybe I wouldn't. Right? One day, I grabbed like a 50-pounder. I did as many reps as I could. Now, I'm gonna tell you something. If you're not good at a movement, meaning there's a movement, you say, you know what? I do it, but I just don't connect well with it. I'll give you a piece of advice. Cut the weight in half, cut it in a third, cut it in a quarter, okay? And do as many reps with it as you could. 50, 60, 70, 80 reps, whatever it is. Guess what? Somewhere in those reps, you're gonna start feeling the muscle. You can continually make that a part of your workout from there forward, or you may strengthen your mind-muscle connection so much so that you don't need to continue doing that. You can then start to increase the weight, not go back to those, lighter weight, higher rep sets. But if you don't connect well with a movement, cut that weight way down, do a ton of reps. I bet you anything you will start to feel the muscles burn. That's a good thing. All right, that was a light set. That was 50-pound dumbbell. I did it for 30 reps. Even though I've gotten significantly better, and when I say better, I mean I've gotten good at feeling the movement, okay, and recruiting the muscles that I aim to recruit with the movement. I still will choose to do one lighter weight, higher rep set at the beginning of that series of sets. And by doing so, just kind of turns everything on neurologically. Then as I increase the weight, I'm gonna feel it exactly where I wanna feel it. Now, even to this day, if I'm training somebody and we're gonna do squats, I'll have them do some leg extensions first. Why? Turn on those quads, get everything firing, switch everything on neurologically. Then when you do that compound movement, you can more easily direct the stress where you want to direct it. Depending on your goal, right? It's very goal specific. We all train for different reasons, right? Some of us train to be the best we can be in our particular sport. Some of us who train for something to do, to get out of the house. Maybe there's a certain social aspect to it that we enjoy. That's fine. Some people train purely for health. No matter what reason you train for, if you train to produce some type of change, okay? No matter what that change is, get bigger, get stronger, get leaner. In order to accomplish that, there has to be some discomfort. Now, depending on how far along you are, right, when you're a beginner, that discomfort can be very, very minimal, almost not even noticeable, and you can still produce a result. The further down the line you go, meaning the more change you've already created, the change becomes harder to create. And in order to create it, there has to be a greater amount of discomfort. So, depending on your reason for training, if you're somebody who's out there and you say, man, you know, I want to be bigger, or I want to be stronger, I want to be leaner, I want to run faster, I want to be better in my particular sport. The degree to which you're going to create that change a lot of times is positively correlated with your ability to step outside your comfort zone, make yourself uncomfortable, create some discomfort. Again, if you're somebody who trains just for pure enjoyment, to get out of the house, socialize with people, that's all good. Maybe this doesn't apply to you. And everyone's at different points in their lives, different stages. Some people might train just to maintain, okay? So it's all relative. If you're out there looking to make a serious impact or to be the best, you gotta think about what it is you're asking for and the effort that you're putting in and the discomfort that you feel has to be relative to that. All right, that's it for me. I am smoked. We just blew through a full-on back workout in 30 minutes. Basically, I selected what I think are the hardest movements. Barbell row, deadlift, dumbbell row. Turned them into 4 giant sets. Finished it off with dumbbell pullovers. All right, starting with barbell rows. You'll notice I used a very, very light weight. That's intentional because I want to control the movement as much as possible, especially on the negative portion of the reps. Went straight into deadlifts, and again, super, super slow and controlled on the negatives. From there, right into dumbbell rows, and that setup of 3 exercises right in a row just obliterates my back in the best way possible, right? Taking my lower back out of the equation, putting the stress in all the places I want to feel it, and getting it away from all the places I don't want to feel it. Finished up the workouts. Finished up the workout with 4 sets of dumbbell pullovers, and my back is fried. Guys, I used barely any weight for this workout. It thoroughly smoked my back. A lot of you guys aren't out there probably thinking, oh, you know what? Today I'm going to superset barbell rows and deadlifts and dumbbell rows. Try it, especially for you guys who maybe shy away from deadlifts because you say it hurts your lower back, or barbell rows for the same reason. Lighten up the weight, cut it in half, cut it in a quarter, okay? Drive up the reps, use it as part of some giant sets, and I guarantee you will find a way to effectively incorporate those movements. Guys, step outside your comfort zone a bit. Don't be afraid to lighten the weight. Doing this is only gonna help you to get in better shape, burn more calories, subject yourself to stresses that you're not used to feeling. Hope you guys enjoyed the workout. I'll see you again soon.